Welcome back to Joe's Son of Boxing. Tyson Fury has reiterated that he will not be coming back. I think he probably still wants a third fight with Usyk because that's the one person to beat him professionally. You know, he desperately clung for several years to his undefeated status. Talked about himself being the best fighter of, well, the best heavyweight ever, so it was Satin, but I don't think anyone took him seriously on that score. But he certainly wanted to be recognised as the best heavyweight of his era, and now that Usyk's beaten him twice, it ain't going to happen. So, he's I think that's really burst his little ego bubble. He's not happy about that, and I think probably he would come back for a third fight with Usyk. But the one that Eddie Hearn is banging the drum over is, of course, the Anthony Joshua fight. And Hearn talked in a different interview. He said, AJ is really wanting it. He's got the bit between his teeth. He wants that fight. He's desperate for it. Possibly in Africa, because AJ is desperate to fight in Africa. He's always wanted to fight in Nigeria, which is where his family's from. Hearn said that there have been preliminary talks, well, actually a couple of offers, one from Nigeria, one from Ghana. There seems to be a concerted effort recently to boost boxing in Africa. Of course, Africa is a continent, a collection of countries, and therefore a massive area. And I suppose you could say that that's sort of unmined territory for boxing. I sort of mentioned this in a previous video. Yeah, I mean, it's all potential, isn't it? But a few people left very interesting comments, a few people who I think know a little bit more about this than I do, some that live in Africa. And they were saying, well, they were giving reasons why African boxing hasn't taken off. And a lot of it seemed to be because it was a bit like the Wild West. And when it comes to, giving out licenses, health stipulations for fights taking place, being able to record what's happened, where it's happened and when it's happened, it's all a bit, like I say, Wild West. Not really a great deal of structure there in many areas of Africa. Now, I don't know whether that's true. You correct me if I'm wrong. I would imagine that Africa, like the United States, you have good commissions and bad commissions, but that nevertheless, getting back to my original point, they seem to want to mine that territory, that huge territory. And there have been talks in the past about, other territories which are not renowned for boxing, like, China and the Middle East. And, well, the Middle East we've seen is taking off, especially with Saudi and Riyadh. But Hearn says that he has had, or Matchroom have had, offers from Nigeria and Ghana, and Joshua is very, very keen to fight Tyson Fury. He's certainly keen to fight in Africa. But Fury said in his interview, he told a YouTube channel, I can't remember the name of the channel that I watched it on, but he said, there's no actual reason for me to go back to boxing, or to a boxing ring, as he put it. I'm 37 years old. I've been punched for the last 25 years. What do I want to go back to boxing for? It used to be for the money, the titles, but now I've got more money than I can spend. I've got unlimited amounts of belts and titles. And does it make me any happier? No. Interesting point. Was the chase better than the victory? Yes. The climb was better than the mountain peak, to be fair, and that's always the case. I could go back to boxing at any given time, but I just don't want to. I've got no interest in that clamour for the limelight or to get punched again. I'm not interested. It doesn't do anything for me. You could offer me £1 billion today and it wouldn't move the needle, because I've gone past the point of caring what other people think. Boxing doesn't take any prisoners, it only takes casualties. So for me to be sat here, all my faculties in order, won every belt, made loads of money and not got a scratch on me, I've done really well there. But I don't want to tempt fate. I don't want to keep going back and back to the well, because how many times can you keep doing it without getting brain damage or whatever else? Not being able to walk in a straight line, it'll all then be pointless. Okay? Now, all of that, that shows the level of awareness and the level of intelligence that Tyson Fury actually has. because we've often dismissed him as an infuriating, sort of gaslighting annoyance, which at times he has been precisely that. But those words are very, very wise, and he shouldn't be. We shouldn't dismiss the words just because he's bullshitted before and talked a load of crap. He's actually on the money with all of that. It makes perfect sense. Why would he come back? All that money, all those titles, he's done everything. But maybe that ego of his would draw him back for Usyk. The question, of course, is, would it draw him back for Joshua? And I think the answer is probably no. No, it wouldn't. If he didn't have the, I don't know what it is, 100 billion, whatever, 100 million or 150 billion, whatever the hell he's earned, if he didn't have that money, yes, of course the money would be tempting. But he's got more money than he can spend in God knows how many lifetimes. Why would he come back? If it doesn't motivate him, he's quite right to have that attitude, and he's absolutely right to say, I don't care what other people think. In fact, no one should ever care what other people think, unless they're people that you're close to, you love, and so on and so forth. But the general public, I mean, who gives a shit? Who cares what the general public think? They don't live your life. I get back to something that I've said in previous videos, an old Oscar Wilde quote: "Be yourself. Everyone else is taken." In other words, don't worry about other people's bullshit. Just get on with your life, all right? Say your thing, do your thing, and damn the consequences, all right? That should be everyone's mindset. And if only more young people had that attitude. You should certainly have it when you're older, because you should have picked up some wisdom. Not everyone does, of course, but then that's a different story. Now, Eddie Hearn is still hoping. Eddie Hearn is still hanging in there. Like I say, he mentioned that the offers have come from Nigeria and Ghana. He has also said that Joshua is in full training again, will come back, will be better than ever. He did say, well, we can't control what Tyson Fury does, but he does, but he expects Fury to come back at some point. But he did also point out they're not going to wait for Fury, which I think is absolutely the right thing. Joshua still wants to be a 3-time world champion, and he wants to collect those belts. And if you can't get Fury, then go in a different path. Don't do what, for example, Amir Khan did and tried to get a fight with Pacquiao and Mayweather and put your career essentially on hold for that. I always thought Khan lost his way because of that. It would be foolish, especially at the age that Joshua is, with this sort of final run at the title, to, fixate on one thing and not look at all the different options and keep an open mind, because everyone has their own path to lead or to take. Be yourself, everyone else is taken. I've said it again. But anyway, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Fury will come back? I mean, I don't think there's any kind of doubt that if Joshua and Fury were to fight, especially in London, they'd fill out a stadium, because even though they're both past their best, certainly Joshua is. I don't think Fury is shot, but he looked, from the evidence, certainly of the second Usyk fight, he kind of looked a little bit like he's past his best. Didn't seem to be able to fight for 3 minutes of every round like he used to, and didn't be able to move quite as well. But it would sell. It would sell by the bucket load. It would be a heavyweight version of Khan versus Kell Brook, which did good numbers. They made a lot of money. And I do think it would be a shame if they didn't fight Joshua and Fury, but sometimes these things happen. That's just the way it is. Anyway, let me know what you think. Comments below, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button and do all that good stuff, Join us, join the channel. All right, ladies and gents, thanks a lot, and bye for now.